Hey guys, and welcome to One Keys. In today's lesson, we'll learn a few different chords. Learning chords is very important because it allows you to play different chord progressions, which enables you to play songs that either require a lot of chords or are in different keys. In the beginning, it may be difficult for you to memorize all of these chord positions, but as you practice switching between each chord, you will start developing what's called a muscle memory, which means that your fingers will start remembering where they need to go for each chord. Then you can expand your chord library by learning and memorizing different chord positions, and when you completely memorized it, it is then added to your chord library. So now, let's get right into the lesson in chord position. There are two main types of chords, which are the major chords and the minor chords. There are actually many different types of chords, but we will be focusing on these two for now. And you can think of major chords as happy sounding chords, and minor chords as sadder or darker sounding chords. The first chord that we'll be learning is the E minor chord. For the E minor, you'll put your index finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and your middle finger goes right under it on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And when you have those fingers down, it should sound like this. Now, when you're putting your fingers down for the chord, you'll want to make sure that your fingers are standing upright and not laying down flat on the fretboard. The next chord we'll learn is the D major chord. So for this chord, you'll put your index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Your middle finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, so you skip a string in between them. And you place your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And it should sound like this. Last week we learned the G chord and the C chord, and this week we learned the E minor chord and the D chord. But one important thing to keep in mind is that for the G chord and the E minor chord, you strum all the strings down from the 6th string. But for the C chord, you will want to strum down only from the 5th string, leaving out the 6th string. And for the D chord, you only strum 4 strings from the 4th string, leaving out both the 6th and the 5th string. Now that we have 4 different chords under our belt, we can move on to start learning our first chord progression. And this progression will go as follows, starting from the G chord, to the E minor, then to the C chord, and then to the D chord. Now, before we start practicing, if you're having trouble switching between two chords, then what you can do is you can use what's called the anchor point to help you transition from chord to chord. For example, when you're going from the G chord to the E minor, your index finger is already in position to go to the E minor. So what you can do is keep your index finger down or anchor down your index finger and release rest of your fingers, and then go to the E minor. Now, there is another anchor point when you're going from the E minor to the C chord, which is the middle finger. So keep your middle finger down while releasing rest of your fingers again, and then go to the C chord. Now sadly, there's no anchor point when you're going from the C chord to the D chord or D chord to the G chord. But as you practice more and more, even those transitions without any anchor points will still feel natural to you. So what is an anchor point? When you're transitioning from one chord to another, an anchor point is a finger that doesn't have to release the string to move to another position because it's already in position for the following chord. Let's look at an example. If you take the G chord and the E minor chord, you can see that my index finger is in the 2nd fret of the 5th string for the G chord. But when you go to the E minor chord, you can also see that my index finger is in the same position. So if you're transitioning from G chord to the E minor, what you can do is leave your index finger, which is the anchor point in this situation, take all of your other fingers off, and then move to the E minor with the rest of your fingers. That makes it one less finger to worry about and move. And there are situations where there are multiple anchor points instead of being just one. For example, let's take a look at a C chord and an A minor chord, which we haven't learned yet. So if you look at my C chord, my index finger is in the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and my middle finger is in the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And if you take a look at the A minor chord, my index finger and my middle finger are both in the same positions, and the only thing that changed is my ring finger. So in this situation, there are 2 anchor points, which is my index finger and my middle finger. Now moving on to how we can practice this, we can start very easy. We can have a constant count of 4s that repeats, adding in a down strum on every count of 1s, while switching the chords every 4 counts. So for example, go to the G chord. 1, 2, 3. 4 E minor. 1, 2, 3. 4 C. 1, 2, 3. 4 D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this may be easy for some people, while it may be hard for some others. So if this is difficult for you, what you can do is you can decrease the speed which you go at until you're comfortable at the speed that you're going at. But if this is easy for you, and if you think that you got it, what you can do is you can increase the speed. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can add in a down strum on the count of 3. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if you got up to there, you can also add in a down strum on the count of 2 and the 4 as well. So you'll be strumming 4 times on every count for each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you got that, and if you want to take it even a step further, what you can do is you can refer back to the strumming pattern that we learned from the previous lesson, and you can bring that in to this chord progression. So for example, using the 2nd pattern, you will do a pattern for each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can use the 3rd strumming pattern, which was probably the trickiest pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, thank you guys for watching this video. I want to note that these lessons are meant to teach you different techniques, as well as give you the other knowledge that you'll need in order for you to improve your guitar playing. But the main progress of improving your playing happens during your practice. So you guys can feel free to pause these lessons at any point to practice and get the hang of them. If you guys devote some time to practice every day, you guys will be able to get used to these different techniques in no time. Yeah! So as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe and hit that like button. I hope you guys have a good one, and see you in the next video.